Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. I want to make a quick update to my quiet quitting movement. And I want to say that I actually find that, and when I stop and think about it, I don't really Peter dislike working. I don't necessarily I never Peter dislike any of our clients. And there may be one or two colleagues that I Peter dislike, but for the most part, that's manageable. What I strongly Peter dislike is any sort of busy work. So for example, our grade book, both here at Phoenix College and over at GCU, is an unmitigated disaster. I don't know how the schools can let that pass, right? You got people whose future livelihoods depend on this, and there's probably going to be a million errors, right? Just the wonkiness. Even my boss admits that she's had to go back and do a change of grade requests. And I just cannot understand how that can be acceptable. That's like if your bank made errors with your money all the time, right? Every month you have to call your bank to fix an error on your credit card. Can you imagine that being an acceptable solution, right? That's how I feel about our grades here. Even the art show here at Phoenix College gave me a little bit of headache. As I was signing up to do the art show, there were so many pieces of paperwork to fill out, and then we had to count how many of everything there was. And you know what? For something as low end as I'm doing, I'm not terribly concerned about miscounting a couple of things. I'm not terribly concerned if a few items walk away. I'd rather have a good time and network more with people. And they were so concerned about every little detail, every I being dotted, every T being crossed. That's what really drives me insane. A couple weeks ago, I responded to an ad here at Phoenix College. They were doing a research study on exercise. Medical study, you go and participate in exercising and make some money. I actually wasn't super needing the money or anything. I was more hoping to network with people. So I responded to that, and before I knew it, I was buried under a mountain of forms to fill out, emails to fill, and I gave up. I just don't have the kind of patience that I used to have. Many years ago, I used to love to do these kinds of studies for money. I was working on my PhD, and I would often do these side gigs just for a few bucks. And I can't believe how much patience I used to have. I've lost that good patience, in large part because of, this past year I had a difficult time with several groups of friends, and I lost my good patience. Let's put it that way. I really should have. I'll probably give that medical study another try at some point. Hopefully after the grading the finals and dealing with the grade book and all that. Anyways. Just some food for thought out there. Get rid of the busy work. The biggest busy work that right now is being debated is obviously the commute, right? I don't know why so many, especially tech companies, want their employees back into the office. Do the math, if you will, right? Now, this is what drives me nuts. I was talking to a former colleague of mine. I think he works for a startup company, not a tech giant, but a startup company. And so I told him, why don't you offer, instead of commuting to the office, if you work, let's say you work 8 hours a day, right? And he spends like 3 hours a day on the road. He's a super commuter. Why don't you offer to work 9 hours at home? That way you'll still save 2 hours. You'll save all the costs of commuting. And before I could even finish the idea, he said, no, why would I offer my boss more? Long story short, he got emotional about it. This is not an emotional decision. This is a business decision. Instead of driving 3 hours, I get to, presumably he loves his software work, right? Instead of driving 3 hours, I could do an hour of beautiful work, right? Treat it like a business decision, right? And if you insist that maybe you should get some other benefit, treat that as a business. Don't get emotional about it. right? And then he insisted that he would rather drive 3 hours than to give an hour to his boss. No, it's not giving. It's presumably it's a win-win, right? If you really think of it, take it to the extreme. If he really did like driving 3 hours, then working on software for an hour, he should have taken a job as a truck driver, right? He should have driven for Taylor Swift earlier this year. He could have made a whole lot more money doing that. And presumably, he loves it, right? Or so he thinks, at least. This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum, 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum, bum, bum,